And welcome back, and welcome back, and welcome back, and welcome back. All right, I had to grab a hat. It was way too bright with the sun behind the camera. Welcome back. My name is Jacob O'Connor. I'm 22 years old, and I'm in the process of opening a restaurant. And this is where I document that journey. This is probably going to be a shorter video. I'm going to give you guys a house tour like I said I would a few videos ago. I'll put that at the end of this video. And then I'm going to give you just a few updates, what my week has looked like, how things are going back in Wichita, Kansas, where we're opening the restaurant. And yeah, just a little bit more insight. Right now, today is technically my Sunday. It's actually Tuesday, but with the way that our schedule is lined up, Saturday and Sunday are the most busy days at the restaurant, so we want to get our reps there. And so Monday and Tuesday are our Saturday and Sunday, which can be a little bit trippy and confusing at times. But today is my Sunday, and I always love to come and work out by the pool if I can, especially with the sun out. It's real nice. It's about 80 degrees right now. So this morning, things that I've been doing today on my Sunday, all the housekeeping things that you typically do, like laundry and dishes, been doing that. And then one of the things that people may not realize is with the podcast, it is much more than just sitting down and recording an interview with someone. It's all the editing that goes up afterwards and the post-production and the content creation that goes along with it. So I uploaded, yesterday was Monday, so yesterday I uploaded an interview with Ryan Smith, and I got that distributed. And then today I've spent this morning, and then I spent a few hours this morning creating Instagram reels and different social media content for it. It takes a good 20-25 minutes to make one Instagram reel. You need to pull the video in, you need to find the section that you like, which requires you to watch the interview and find the spots that you actually think will clip well. And then you got to make those cuts. You've got to create the captions, you've got to make sure the lighting's good, and then you got to do the exporting and write the copy for it. It's a whole process to making the social media content. So on my weekends, that is something that I'll dedicate time to, is getting the next week's podcast episode ready and then clipping up and creating content from the previous episodes that I've recorded. With the Sal Frisella interview, he's the CEO of 1st Phorm, and I'm taking different pieces from that interview and making anywhere from like a 60-second to a 10-minute video and clipping it and putting it up on YouTube, putting a title that pertains to what he talks about in that clip. I find that clipping up podcasts into smaller sections on YouTube does better for SEO. So I've got the full length episode as well, but then I'll make the smaller cuts of it and trying to get a couple of those out today. All the different content creation and production, it takes a good amount of time. Something that I'm going to do after this is podcast outreach. So whether that's writing letters, sending DMs, emailing, cold calling, whatever it takes to get guests to come on the show, and actually scheduling and coordinating that, it's a whole process, and usually gets pushed until my Saturday or Sunday just to get that taken care of. Because we are in the restaurant during the week, it is hard to get access to a computer and to have the time to do these things unless it's early in the morning or late at night. And so there's just so many different things to take care of, and usually they will flow over into the weekend. Besides content creation this morning, spent a good amount of time answering emails and just things like that. As far as how things are going on the Wichita front, where we're opening the restaurant at, looks like development's been pushed back a little bit, which can be frustrating in the moment. But I know it's just one of those things that because I haven't had a brick and mortar experience yet, you got to get that first kind of painful rep. And the reality is most things take longer than anticipated to get open. We're still shooting for sometime this summer, but there's just so many moving pieces with it that it was kind of inevitable for us to end up getting pushed back just a little bit. But it's moments like these where I'm thankful that I have great mentors and good people in my circle. I was talking with one of my mentors back in Wichita he's got close to 10 different retail locations now. And when I was telling him about this, he told me about his first one that he went to open, which I think has become his biggest business and done quite well since then. He had the timeline in his head, which is the same thing that John and I have done, of you create this little buffer where you're like, okay, things could go wrong, but hopefully we'll open up around this time. And so that's the expectation that you set. And he had the expectation of opening at point A, and when they actually opened up his first location, it took 18 months longer than he initially anticipated, a year and a half. So that really put it in perspective for me that, getting pushed back just a couple of weeks isn't that bad. It's crazy to me that he got pushed back a year and a half. I can only imagine how frustrated he must have been, but I appreciated him sharing that experience with me. But it's like most things in life, you hope it goes one way, it typically doesn't go exactly to plan, and that's the beauty of life. If everything worked out exactly as you wanted to, life would be real boring and you wouldn't have any sort of tests or learning lessons. As far as what I learned in the restaurant this week, I was working at the host stand on Sunday. The host is the person who greets you when you come in the restaurant, and I have a whole new huge respect for hosts. There's a lot that goes into that job, and it makes me think of myself different as when I've been a patron and a customer prior to this at different restaurants, because you sit there and it's the typical things of, well, how long's the wait? And, well, that table's open, why can't I go get seated over there? And all these different things that I've done, and I'm sure most of you guys have done. And from the host's perspective, it is so much more difficult to give an estimation of when a table is going to be open and to get someone seated than it appears on the surface. There's so many different variables that go into that calculation of, hey, I think it'll be 15 or 20 minutes. And I know there's been plenty of times where I've been told 15 minutes and it's been 20, and I'm like, hey, what's going on here? And I start to get frustrated. But the variables that go into that are crazy. Like, you have to think as the host, all right, I just double sat or triple sat or quadruple sat a server. If I sit this person, is that server going to have the bandwidth to give them a good experience? Or am I just setting up that server for failure and for a bad tip? And so you have to think about the server's perspective. And then you also need to think about it from the kitchen's perspective. If a bunch of people got sat and the server has bandwidth, well, all of these different orders and tickets may have came in at the same time, and the kitchen may be backed up. And so, great, now you can go seat the patron and use the customer and get your order placed real quick. But if it takes 45 minutes to an hour for that food to come out, the guest isn't going to be happy. That's not a good experience for them. And so you also have to think about how the kitchen's doing, how the server's doing, and then if the tables aren't open, like you're fully booked, you're also thinking about your table turn time, which is a restaurant industry term, meaning that from the time it takes for me to seat someone, for them to order, for them to eat the food, and them to finally leave their seat, and then for them to finally leave their table, how long does that take? Well, you're running that calculation in your head, and you're thinking, okay, we're completely booked. You're thinking, okay, we're completely full. There's no open tables or seats. You're thinking they've been sitting there for 30 minutes. They've been sitting there for 45. Hopefully around the hour mark they'll leave. So that means I'll tell this person that hopefully in 15 to 20 minutes we'll have a table open. And it really is dependent upon the guests in that circumstance. So you're trying to create this calculation in your head of, does the server have bandwidth? Is the kitchen backed up? And are there any open tables? And when are the guests going to leave those tables if there's no tables? And all those different things go into saying, hopefully it's 15 to 20 minutes, maybe it's 30. There's so many different factors. And so I just have a whole new huge respect for people that work in the service industry in general. I think each week I become more and more impressed with people that work in food. It is not what it appears to be on the surface level, at least in my experience. And I've got a huge respect for those people. Yeah, so that was just one takeaway I had from this week. And then thinking about what I got left to do today before we head back into the restaurant tomorrow. I need to do that podcast outreach like I talked about. I'm going to hit the gym, finish up laundry. John and I right now are trying to decide who we want to use for our accounting services for the restaurant. So we've got a demo this afternoon with a company that provides accounting services. So we're going to take a look at their software and their financial system and their financial package. And then we have a meeting with our partners, and we have a virtual meeting with our partners after that. And then I've got a few more emails I need to get to. I need to edit this and get this uploaded hopefully today. I have a few more pieces of content that I'm trying to put together and get out. And I'm sure there's other things that I'm forgetting, but that's kind of like top of mind things that I'm going to get done before I go to bed tonight to set myself up for a good week. Things have been hectic, and I think I've experienced so much growth just from doing all this, and I wouldn't trade that for anything. So I'm going to give you guys the tour. I'm going to give you guys the house tour right now. And yeah, that's all I got for today. So we've got our pool back here. It's a little dirty. I probably should clean it. We've got one palm tree. I don't know how that's showing up on the camera, but it actually is pretty green, and it's one of the nice little touches they have here. John and I had a small fire last night and just kind of hung out for a bit. Back patio, and then we'll go in. So this is where I work. This is my desk, my monitors. This is the living room. Nice little TV. The kitchen, we got John making some lunch. And then a random desk. That's John's room. It's a guest room. My bedroom right here. And we're back to where we started. hopefully you guys enjoyed this. If you did, make sure you like, subscribe, and share it with a friend. You can find me on Instagram at Jacob O'Connor, and I'll see you guys next week.